Do you have work experience? What school did you go to? I'm confused. The very first question, which honestly made me look like a complete idiot, one of the ladies asked me, why is my father one of my references on my CV? Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is April and you are welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, check out the videos that you see on my channel page. If you like what you see, then of course subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click on the bell notification button to always be notified every time I post a new video. And if you are returning to my channel, then you are welcome. As you can see from the title of this video, today we are going into the professional sphere. So I usually cover videos on academics, right, on lifestyle, fun stuff, and I also cover some videos on professional topics. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys my total interview fails, how I basically bombed interviews. I actually started applying for internships and for jobs and things like that in my first year of university. So I attended my first interviews in my very first year of university and I graduated last year. So during my 4-year university period, right, I attended about maybe 8 interviews. Some were internship interviews, some were part-time job interviews, so it was kind of a mix. And then after I graduated from university, I've attended about 2 interviews. So basically I have been going for a lot of interviews, right? And in this video, I'm going to be focusing on my internship interviews, because out of all my interviews, those were the ones that were honestly like the worst. And also, if you've ever been for an interview which didn't go well, tell me in the comments section. Explain what happened, or if you can relate in any way to whatever I'm going to be saying in this video, just tell me in the comments because I love to hear from you. And also I would like to point out that this video idea was actually given to me by one of you guys. So yeah, I actually go by your requests, and if you have ever requested a specific topic from me, don't worry, I'll definitely cover that topic. Sometimes I just need a little bit more time, okay? But I'll definitely cover your video requests and your video suggestions. I usually note all of them down and it just takes me a while to get through them because I also have like ideas of my own and I mix them up. So let's start with the very first story, right? This was my very first interview for a law-related internship. So I'm not going to be mentioning names of places. I'm not going to be mentioning names of people. I think for reasons that you guys should guess. At the time that I was going for this interview, I was almost at the end of my first year of studying law. So I think it was the second semester. It was basically like the end of the first academic year, right? And I mean, of course, it was my first time. I was very nervous, but I mean, I was dressed appropriately. I looked decent. You know, I was kind of prepared, but I had no idea like what they were going to ask me. Everything was fine. You know, I had to go and sit and wait and all that before they called me in. And keep in mind that before I went for this interview, right, I submitted my CV and then some other documents. I think there was a cover letter. I submitted some documents, but my CV was part of the documents, right? Anyway, I am called to enter, right? To enter like the interview room. So at that time, I was honestly expecting there to be one person interviewing me. I don't know why I thought that, like, I just had that in mind. So I was a bit surprised to see 3 people interviewing me. So 3 people were on the interview panel, right? Basically, the interview was being held in kind of like a classroom setting, okay? So there were a lot of desks and a lot of chairs. And then at the front part of the class, I don't know if it's actually a class, but let me just call it a class. There were 3 people who were seated at like a long table or a long desk. They were like the interview panel, 2 men and 1 woman. I'm going, right? And the thing is, you can't tell where you are supposed to sit because there are a lot of desks and a lot of tables and chairs and stuff. It was my first time, like I didn't really know what to do. So like I just walked. I didn't sit down. I just stood in front of them. One of the men on the panel was like, "Why are you standing? Can't you see the table and chair?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, I was actually very shocked because of the tone. It was very, first of all, their whole demeanor. Like, I entered the room and they behave like I'm not even there. Like, it's a very dismissive kind of attitude, like, whatever, like as if no one even entered the room, you understand? It's like they are doing their own thing. In fact, when I entered, they were even talking amongst themselves. Meanwhile, I was called to come in. So I'm coming in, you are doing your own thing. Me too, I'm waiting for you to stop your talking and all of those things. And then you are looking at me and then you tell me in a very rude tone, like, why are you standing? And then I sat down at the desk that was closest to me. Like, me, plenty tables and chairs here. Where am I supposed to sit? Good Lord, like. So I just sat at the closest spot, right? I greeted them. And then they were like, so why are you here? So I said, I'm here for the interview for the internship position, blah, 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 those kinds of things. That one of the men, in fact, there was this man in particular, like he was the one who first spoke to me and he was the one who was mostly leading the conversation. He was sitting in the middle. The woman was on his right, I think, and then another man was on his left. So this man in the middle, he was the one who was really, really rude. And he also had this like cocky attitude, like as if he's all that. Like, I don't know if he feels himself or what, but it was really some way. Like, I was just, honestly, I was confused because that's not the kind of treatment I expected. I watched like YouTube videos and stuff of interviews, and obviously they are mostly interviews that are set outside of Ghana, and the kind of environments and the kind of treatment that people get is completely different from this. So I was shocked. I was really shocked. So he was like, is that how you start to talk? You didn't even introduce yourself. So I introduced myself. I said that I'm a first year student at the University of Ghana School of Law, blah, 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 like all of those basic things. And then the man proceeds to ask me basic questions that are already on my CV. Like, for example, he asked me, where did I go to high school? Like, it's fact. He was asking me facts, and I was confused because my CV is in front of you. Have you read my CV before I entered the room? I don't understand. You're asking me about work experience and things. Everything is on the CV. The person is not asking me about my work experience. He's asking me the facts. Like, do you have work experience? What school do you go to? I'm confused. If anybody has an explanation as to why people do this, please explain, because to me I'll get to that a little bit later. So keep watching because I'm going to be telling you guys how I think interviews should be held based on the research that I've done and based on some very, very, very good interviews that I've had. So yeah, to me, it's like very important how you go about an interview, because it also tells me something about you and whether or not I would actually like to work with you. And the way this interview was going, like, I'm telling you guys, when I was sitting there, I was already feeling like I don't want to work here. I don't want to intern here because I don't like how they're treating me. I am not a slave. I am not some kind of, sure, I'm younger than you. Sure, I'm in my first year of law school, but that's not how you treat a person. It doesn't matter who the person is. Do you feel me? Anyway, and then the woman decides to step in. Okay. And what she did was just so embarrassing to me. So at that time, for the very first and last time in my life, I did acrylic nails. Okay. So acrylic nails are just basically fake nails. It's not really anything special, and they weren't really long. I don't fancy long nails. So they weren't really long, maybe something like this. You could see that they were fake, but they weren't like extra. No. And they weren't a fancy color. They were just gray. So plain gray. There was no design. There wasn't anything on it. And this woman proceeds to say or to ask, why did you do your nails and come here? Why do you think you are here for a fashion statement? What? I was like, what? I was really honestly confused because I didn't see what my nails had to do with the reason why I was there. You feel me? Like, I was just, honestly, I don't even remember what I said because I don't think I said anything at all. I probably just said, I'm sorry. And then I put my hands under the desk. She didn't stop there. She kind of pressed on it. She was like, do you think that you look appropriate for this interview? Mind you, I was wearing a black dress. It was official. Like, I didn't look bad at all for an interview. It was a plain black dress and I was wearing flats, so black closed shoes, flats. At this point in time, I could already see that they were not liking me because of how I was answering the questions, and also they were undermining me, like basically saying that you're in your first year and you want to do the internship. Like they weren't even asking questions, they were just making statements, or talking amongst themselves, and I could hear what they were saying. It was just offensive. It was offensive. I was shocked. I was shocked. Anyway, then the man asks me one last question, and that was based on what I studied or what I was studying in school at that time, okay? And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had to do with constitutionalism. It's a topic under constitutional law. So he asked me a question, like very specific law question, like it was a law question, you understand? Not anything that requires analysis, more like just memorization, like what is constitutionalism or something like that. And I didn't answer correctly. Like I gave an answer, but it wasn't like the exact answer. Do you feel me? It was like vague, or it wasn't full. It wasn't a full answer. And he was just like, you say you are the University of Ghana School of Law. You can't even answer this simple question. It's okay. Like that's it. Thank you. And I was like, thank you. And then I left. Overall, I felt terrible. Overall, I felt like they didn't even want me there. And you can say, some people say that at some interviews, the interviewers try to intimidate you intentionally to see how you would react, to see how you would answer certain questions and things like that. What I have to say about that is that I think that is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely, 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 absolutely ridiculous. I am here to be tested whether or not I would be capable of doing a particular job. And even if you have to ask me certain testing questions, like to see how I would react in certain situations, how I would argue, for this or for that, it's completely different from you undermining me as a person or disrespecting me as a person, which is what they were doing. And yes, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what position you occupy, because it is just wrong to treat people like that. When I left that place, first and foremost, I knew that they were not going to accept me for this internship. And secondly, I thought even if magically, fantastically, I was accepted for this internship, I wouldn't work there because I don't like how I'm being treated and I don't think it's worth it. I had other internship interviews, and also I would like to point out that where I am right now in my life, and considering all the interviews that I've been at, right? Asking questions based on what someone studied in school is very simplistic and is very lazy, in my opinion. Now, again, as you guys know, my channel is very opinionated. I have very strong opinions. So if you disagree, you can feel free to disagree. You can feel free to state your opinion in the comment section. For me, if I am an interviewer and I have interviewed certain people for certain project jobs and positions, I like to ask situational questions. I like to ask analytical questions. I like to ask questions which would show the candidate's personality, the candidate's skills, how the candidate would react under pressure. All of this can be done without undermining the person, without disrespecting the person. You have to be civil, you have to be nice, you have to be open, whilst at the same time being strict. There is a difference. Let me just make it clear, there is a difference. And also asking questions like, what is the rule of law? To me, it's just like, I mean, anybody with a good memory can answer that, you feel me? Like, I would go more for an analytical question. So, for example, you say in your CV that you like to read. What do you read? Then when the person answers, then, you go based off of that. Like, okay, what was the last book that you read? What did you learn from it? And if, for example, concerning my course, if I mention something that is related to my course, you can ask me a practical question in relation to the law, you understand? Or you can give me a scenario and ask me how I would apply the law to that scenario. Just me. That's just me. Before we move to the next horror story, I actually did get accepted for that internship position along with many other people, but I ended up not working there. So there you go. Anyway, moving on to the second interview horror story. And this third story is the worst. Is the worst of all that I have ever had, and it's completely like my fault. Like, it's completely all on me. It was a very great interview. It was conducted very well. I was the one who was being foolish. Like, I take full responsibility for the chaos that happened during this interview. And it was an interview for an internship that I actually really wanted. It was at a place that I really wanted to work at, and I did a lot of research on the place beforehand. Of course, I did my research online, so that was the only way that I actually did my research. Keep in mind that this place is kind of like international, so they have offices in many countries in the world, okay? And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to work there, because I thought that it would give me some exposure in terms of working with foreign clients. So sure, the place is located in Ghana, but because of how internationalized it is, I thought that there would be some work that required like an international perspective, and I'm very interested in that. So that was one of the reasons why I actually wanted to work there. I go for the interview, everything is fine, everything is great, they're on time, I'm on time. It was two ladies who interviewed me. They were very professional and they asked me very good questions about me, about my personality, about why I want to work there. And they actually read my CV before the interview, so they were asking me questions based off of my CV. The very first question, which honestly made me look like a complete idiot, one of the ladies asked me, why is my father one of my references on my CV? And guys, let me tell you the truth. I knew at that time, I knew that you're not supposed to put a relative, a family member, a pastor or anything like that as a reference on your CV. I knew. But at that time, I didn't have a lot of work experience. I actually had two references. One of them was my lecturer in school, and then one of them was my dad, okay? And when she asked me that question, I said a very unprofessional thing. I was like, oh, right. You know, that CV is old, it has to be updated. If I were her, I'll just be like, okay, thank you, bye. Because you're coming for an interview and the CV that you submitted is not up to date. How did you apply? So yeah, that was like one of my biggest fails. And when I said that like, oh, it has to be updated, both of the ladies were like, what? The situation gets even worse. They asked me, why do you want to work here? And I explained based off what I saw on their website, that they are so international, that they are this, that they are that, and you know, I have interest in that. And then one of the ladies goes on to say, well, we work with Ghanaian law and with Ghanaian people. So no, you are not going to be working in an internationalized environment. And I was just like, oh no. No. I completely misunderstood how the place operates. Like, I completely misunderstood. I was just saying the wrong thing. Their reaction was just like, okay. First, she comes with an outdated CV. Second, she doesn't even know why she wants to work here. She doesn't even know exactly what we do here. So why is she here? That's how their reaction was like. I'm not even done, guys. It gets worse. It gets worse. One of the ladies asks me, so do you have any questions for us? And I got confused because no one had ever asked me before in other interviews whether or not I had questions for them. I never asked questions. In my mind, again, I was so immature and I wasn't really experienced. So in my mind, an interview was the potential employer or their representatives asking me questions, not me also asking them questions, which is actually how an interview should be. So in reality, an interview is each party is testing the other. I am testing them to find out whether I would actually like to work there, and they are testing me to see if I'm the right candidate to work for them. And so, yes, I'm also supposed to come with my own questions or with certain things which I would like clarifications on, but I didn't have that. And when she asked me, I was confused, and my confusion showed because like she asked me if I understood what she asked me, and I was like, yes, I understood the question, but I don't have any questions. And she was like, oh, you know, it's recommended that before you even come for an interview, you note down certain questions that you might have for the people who are going to interview you. First of all, it shows seriousness, it shows that you are willing to know more about the place that you would probably work at. And I was just like, yes, thank you for the tips. And they were like, yeah, thank you too, and have a nice day. Now, the way they conducted the interview made me feel really good. I liked everything. I liked their approach. I like how they spoke to me, how they addressed me, everything. I really, really had a good impression about the place and about the people there. But like, I knew that I flopped. I knew that I wouldn't get the job. And yes, I didn't get the job. Yeah, but let me just say something. All of these interview failures really taught me a lot. They taught me what to expect at interviews. They taught me exactly how I should prepare for interviews. They taught me about composure, about confidence, about how to speak, about the kind of people who I could meet, the kind of interviewers who I could meet, and the kind of things that they could focus on. For example, they could focus on my dressing, on my nails, even though it's irrelevant. There are people who could focus on that. And I improved on my interviewee capabilities so much more after all of these instances. So once again, if you have things to share about this topic, do share them in the comment section. I hope I'll see you in another video. For today, it's just a goodbye, guys. So bye.